Hello, TradeGate Hub. How are all my trading warrior brothers and sisters doing? Let's have a great week. Feel free to ask me questions, interact with me during my presentation today and my rundown of the markets. So let's have a good week. There's going to be an exclamation point to the week on Friday with NFP. We've had a couple disappointing numbers. Maybe people are going to look for another disappointing number. I think that maybe they'll get surprised this time, and the surprise may be to the upside, which should be dollar bullish. You guys know last week bought the pullback in the dollar. Why don't we start there? Okay, so it was pretty orderly, right? And pulled right back to my blue line. And last week I had shorts in euro, shorts in Aussie, longs in the Canadian dollar. So to me, it looks like we're getting ready for a continuation move to the upside in the dollar. OGFX Trader showed a nice chart of a bear flag in Aussie right here on our platform. Looks like it's getting ready to break down as well. You'll see flags everywhere. There's a flag. Pound maybe not as much, but the Aussie and Euro really look like uh, I am watching it. I am watching it. Oh, yeah, let me just pull that. I can't have the volume on there, Gil, because then I'd have echoes, but I guess you could say I'm watching it. Okay. So, getting back to the individual currencies, everyone's doing okay. We have a lot of these bear flags happening here, which imply higher dollar. My target in the dollar is up around 92.90 to 93 and a half. And we need to close over 92, but I think you have to be wrong, at least short term. The only bearish scenario I could see is if we get something like that from here, and that would still be pretty bullish. Hello, Daniel. How you doing? So still bullish a dollar, still bearish euro. Looking for new lows in euro. As I've been saying for a few weeks, maybe we get a rally back to 120. I would consider that a gift if we had some weak numbers. I'm a seller up at 120. I'd add to long dollar positions in that as well in the Aussie. Aussie getting ready to take out an important 200-day moving average. So I'm looking for maybe 72 and a half or so. Before I think we get a real good bottom in Aussie, I think it's all the way down under the 70 handle. So this could take a few months to play out. We just entered the summer trading season, and I'm looking for a pretty good summer in the dollar, which I think is going to have some negative implication on other asset classes. Taking a look at the pound, I actually think even though the pound is stronger than the euro, that it's going to lead to the downside. I think before we get a real nice bottom, that the pound could actually trade 128. So I'm giving you some telescopic long-term objectives here. Doesn't mean that we can't rally towards 140 one more time. Kind of keep the equity rally alive one more time. Maybe on if I'm wrong and we get a weak number Friday, I'm a seller. I'm a buyer of dollar weakness until we get to some of these objectives or I'm proved wrong. And my objectives, I'll give you a long-term objective in the dollar. And I think we're heading up to the 96 level. It's a 1.618 fib extension count up here. And if you look left, that was a major breakdown down there, right around the 96 level. I think that is destiny in the dollar. And it's going to be a very big battleground going forward because then it becomes more than a correction if we start closing above 96. Then you have to think that there's a potential for us to try the COVID highs, but take it one step at a time. And that first step is um, buying dollar weakness. Unless it closes back under 91, I'm going to stay long the dollar until we get up to these levels. So that's my preferred way of trading the dollar, which means that I'm willing to sell rallies in euro. Still think that the euro is going to take out and test this low maybe around 1760, and eventually I'm looking for about the 114 level. I had a long-term downtrend here that would come in on that level. Let's see if I could find it again. Okay. Yeah, something like this. There we go. So let's just start it from here. Not there, not here. Don't you hate when your lines that you believe in disappear from your charts and you have to do it again? Anyway, let me lower this here. I think it's from further back, but anyway, it's going to have this kind of look to it. Let's just launch it here. This one's going to be much deeper at 109, but I have two counts, one at 114 and one at 111. So I've been talking 114 in the euro since I joined TradeGate Hub as a potential target for long-term entries in the euro. I still think that we could get here. If you look here, this is what's a very important line in the sand for the euro once we cracked over this 114 level. So eventually this is where I think we're going to pull back to. I think it's about a 50% retrace from the lows that we had in early 2020. So let me just adjust this. Looking at the yen, um, I have a hard time wanting to fade this because even though yields are lower today, I'm looking for the potential of higher yields. It's starting to look like a bull flag. We'll see. We need to get to 158 before that happens. And last week, I talked about the CAD was a buy at on this pullback that we had to 2150, 2180. And I still think that you have partial profits. Remember, I'm a big believer in it. We start getting through 3.5. That's going to look pretty good. Moving over to oil. And if you were in the main chat, I showed the 3 drive, said it was looking vulnerable up here at the 74 level. If you took the sell, take a piece off here. If you took the sell from the post, it was trading over 74. So you have about 60 pips. Put something in the bank. Good way to start the week. This was one of my 2 posts that I made today. The other one was in euro pounds. So if you took this short crude trade, you take half and put stops over the high of the move for today. Give it 20 pips tolerance. I think that we could move back down towards this 71.20 level, which happens to be the 2-week off number, 71.40, and we're cracking it right now. So you could say, well, Dale didn't sell the top. Well, you could still sell it here and risk 70 cents looking for another $2. That's a 3 to 1 price risk to reward ratio, which is pretty good. And now you are getting a pretty good signal. So let's move on to gold. I keep looking at the gold and saying, what do you do with a market like this? Is this an important base? Or is it just, biding time, working off its oversold condition by just moving sideways? So it could do either. It could rally if the dollar weakens, or President Biden's shooting off having some airstrikes against some targets in Iraq and Syria. So you never know. But technically, to me, it's a no trade. You just have to have a bias and go with it or do nothing. For right now, I'll do nothing. I'd be a willing seller up here and a willing buyer maybe around 1740. There's a long-term trend line, 1740, 1730. We'll see what happens. Silver is really the same story, has a little bit more of an upside bias, but what do you say about a market that, just like gold, got clipped dramatically on just jawboning from the Fed? And the best it could do is move sideways, can't recover in price. all it could do is hold. So holding is not exactly strength to me. Although, there could be shorts that they could squeeze here, or they could go to liquidate the longs here. Right here, I'd call it a coin toss. And if I want to do coin tosses, I'll go to a casino and play roulette and bet red or black or pull a handle on a slot machine. So anyone who technically has a case in gold for what's going on right now, I'd be interested in what it is. So what's interesting today, and it's the opposite of what happened last week, is NASDAQ is absolutely exploding. And yet, look at what's happening here in the S&Ps. Now, I've been talking about strength into the end of the month, which there's only 2 months left. And I started putting on some bearish option vertical spreads in December. So I'm not worried about being wrong for a day or a week or even a month. But pretty interesting action that we have happening here in the S&Ps, lower on the day. And you know what? There are so many people looking for 4,300, 4,314. There's a lot of fib counts and extension moves up there all the way to 4,370. And you'll hear 4,400 bandied about on CNBC all the time as a potential year-end target. So there's that. And, there's something, maybe you've noticed it. I have, that when everyone's looking for one number and there's widespread agreement about that number as a layup and we're going to get there, one of two things happens. Either it never achieves that level, and then when it does, it's not as important as people thought it was going to be. And sometimes it's like a hot knife through butter, getting through those levels, either through upside resistance, targets, or downside. Either way, it's just a majority opinion on where a market could go. So just something I've noticed over the years. Maybe you um, might start noticing it too, where everyone's talking about certain levels and it either never gets there, or if it gets there, it wasn't that meaningful of a level. And I want to talk a little bit about relative strength here. And, one of the good signs that we got in Canada last week. So, besides my analysis, I want to teach during these sessions and give you some things to look at. So, I talk about you don't have to trade a lot of markets, but, you have to have an overview on many markets to even trade one. And I want to talk about a little bit about relative strength and talk about the action that we had on Friday. Okay, so on Friday, if you notice, before the dollar rallied, it almost came back. In fact, it did, to test this same low. Everyone see that? Here and here. And remember how weak Canada was? Every time the dollar would make even a higher low, USD CAD would make lower lows. Now look at the action in Canada with how deep this pullback was in the dollar. And now look at Canada. Okay. It wasn't even close. See? So what is this? This gives me more conviction in Canada because it's a little different character the way it's trading. It's trading with relative strength compared to the dollar, whereas before we got the bottom at 120, if the dollar was double bottoming, Canada would have been at new lows. So, that smacks of accumulation to me. And as long as I'm talking about accumulation, um, I'd like to talk about what's happening here in the VIX. So, S&Ps are lower and NASDAQ's higher, but I've been talking about these wicks that we've been getting in the VIX, wicks and VIX for many weeks, at least dating back to the last break. So started in June. So the last few weeks, look at this wick, look at this wick, this, 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 and then look at this, 3. All right, you guys know I even said Wednesday was the last day I was on last week that we could have one more washout for a 3. And even though the S&Ps made new highs, the VIX did not. Okay, so there's a possibility the low might be in from last week. But this smacks of accumulation to me. And like I've been saying on prior live streams, is that the same thing was happening in silver near its bottom last year. It's almost like before the market opens or right on the opening, there's nothing, there are no bids, just offers. And they take the market all the way down. I don't know how many trades take place down here. I'd guess not many. And maybe even the guy who's offering it down, I think they call it spoofing, but you know, it's been going on for decades and centuries. And you know, there's nothing illegal about having an offer and then changing your mind and buying it, or if you think the market's thin and you could get a better level, is to offer into it so that you could get long at better levels. Anyway, look at these wicks, and to me they're like ghost trades, and they smack of accumulation, and that's kind of a bearish sign for the market. You know, whether the rally lasts more than this week, it's getting pretty negative action here in the S&Ps. We want to look at what a weekly reversal would be, and it's way down here. It's actually the key reversal we closed 41.58. So we'll see if that's achievable, or we're still going to get that 4,300 level. I think you know, when you look at the RSI, I think we had one divergence finally here over 80 on the 2-minute, but I'm looking for highs here in the S&Ps. Did the Nasdaq make a new high? I think it did. Wow, but I don't know what the news was, but that certainly did it. The 4-hour not confirming, 2-hour not confirming. So here we are at 14.46. The range I've been talking about going all the way back to the beginning of June was 14.3 to 14.5. So we'll see. We'll see. Anyone know what lit up NASDAQ in the room here? Okay. Because when's the last time you saw NASDAQ up 120 and the S&P is down 3? So you're really getting some bifurcation in here. Looking at the Swiss, I think the Swiss looks okay. Another bull flag that you have in Swiss, very orderly. You know, before this happened with the Fed traders, there were nothing but dollar bears out there. Remember, I've been talking about it for a while. Now, I came in flat for the Fed. I didn't know we were going to get, in fact, I thought we'd get one more jiggle, but I was flat for the Fed. So, um, a lot of people were, you know, long euro, short Canada, um, short long Aussie. And I think the market really got caught flat-footed and very short. And part of the reason for the shallow pullbacks may be there's still lots of shorts looking to get out, and you know, hoping for a pullback because they're fighting the trend now and they don't want to absorb as much of a loss as they would up here. So they're being stubborn and trading on hope that there'll be a bigger pullback. They might get lucky, but they may not either, and we may have an acceleration here. So it's okay to be wrong. It's not okay to stay wrong. You could always get out and recommit on it. And I say this about hope, that it's the oxygen in our life, because we have to have hope in life. Otherwise, we'd be in despair all the time. But hope is the carbon monoxide in trading. So it's a great thing in life, but it's not a great thing when you're an investor or a trader, that your contingency is hope. Your contingency should be, where am I wrong and where do I get out of the way before you even enter the trade. So, you know, that's my little homily on on hope. Cruise really accelerating, so you even have more money made if you just took it. Crude break will be breaking down. That's really not a great sign for the S&P. So I guess tech is lighting it up for Nasdaq. Silver, as I said, I don't know. It could be a flag. It looks just like it's consolidating its losses, and gold, same scenario. It's consolidating its losses. I'm going to be talking to Adam Button at Forex Live on Wednesday, and Adam will be giving us his look for July, seasonal tendencies and implications. So I'm interested in hearing what Adam has to say. Be a second time with us on TradeGate Hub. So S&Ps, be aware that this market could top almost at any time. Let's see what happened on the 15-minute. Glaring divergence. Okay, see this? Glaring. 2 hour glaring divergence, but over 70. 4 hour turned it back a little over 70. You have to be careful right now. You know, there are a lot of fundamental things happening. What if there's a failure to get the infrastructure bill done now that some Republicans aren't happy about President Biden attaching another bill to it and just doing the tiny piece but on a bipartisan basis and then coming in with both cannons on a follow-up. So that's in jeopardy. You know, once July comes and goes, there's not going to be much done. Uh, you know, Congress recesses, and something that I think could be a problem that no one's talking about yet. That at the end of the month, we have the debt ceiling issue coming up again. And when you think about it, with all the money on rescue plans, on infrastructure, on COVID, just all the huge amounts of money in our now what I think to be an entitlement riddled economy, um, that you know the Republicans could take a stand. It's happened before, um, where we could have a government shutdown and not raise the debt ceiling and have some type of downgrade. So that's something to keep an eye on towards the end of the month, or maybe the market starts worrying about that a little earlier. So just something that I think about background catalysts in the market, and you would think that would be pretty dollar bearish, but I still think the dollar has legs in it. Right now, I'm calling it a bear market rally, not the beginning of a secular bull move. Dollar would have to close over 96 and a half, 97 for that to happen. But between here and there, I think there's some good opportunities, and look forward to presenting them to you guys. So here's SQQ making new lows. Uh, at 9:36. Are we diverging? Let's take a look at the 15-minute. Not really. This is a pretty ugly opening. How about the 4 hour? Anyway, I'm long this. I started doing it in here. So I'm underwater. I'm not perfect, but that's why I went out and bought some time. I didn't expect the Nasdaq to outperform the S&Ps by this much. So looks like we're going to make a new high in Nasdaq, and we'll see if it confirms up there. So let's take just one more look at Nasdaq. I think we're almost there. Yeah. Okay. So Nasdaq, if you want to be conservative, which is a weird word to use when you're um, trading leveraged instruments, there's nothing really conservative about speculating. But if you want to wait for confirmation, it's going to happen back on a couple hundred points underneath where we are right now. And that'll be back inside the wedge. We have a throw over. I pointed it out, and you could just wait for it to fall back inside the formation at 14,265. And I just wanted to show Ethereum. because Ethereum's acting better than Bitcoin right now. Okay, there's Bitcoin. Well, here's Ethereum, and Ethereum is trying to hold a previous low here, while Bitcoin, took it out by a little. So we'll see. I have a speed line down here at 800. The way I feel right now is until, like I said, it's all one market. When the dollar was weak, everything went up together, right? Gold went up, S&Ps went up, right? And this is with the dollar going down, right? So if we have a change in or a bear market rally in the dollar, that would take some of the air out of the inflation argument for a little while until the dollar turns down again. So it's just been a matter of magnitude. And it's hard for me to want to be long anything when I'm constructive the dollar because normally that would depress everything to different degrees and different magnitudes, but hard for me to be long stuff or stocks or commodities or stocks with a strong dollar. So I anticipate that I'll be doing more of selling the rips and buying the dips in the dollar. And that's going to be a wrap for today. I encourage everyone who's watching us on YouTube that you get my posts in the main chat in the trading room here on TradeGate Hub. So come in and register, and you could ask me questions. We could collaborate. You could even show off some of your great charts, and we can interact and try and get a mastermind group going in here. If you're interested in collaborating with me, trading with me, coming into TradeGate Hub, and we'll see if there's some chemistry. And as I end every broadcast, I'll end it the same here. Don't just count your pips, count your blessings. I'll see everyone tomorrow for Turnaround Tuesday, and have a great day. You're very welcome, Daniel. You're very welcome, G. Dory and OGX Trader, all my trading warriors and brothers, sisters. Good hunting. No impulse trading. Thank you, G. Dory, and we'll see everyone tomorrow. Adios. And remember, mark your calendar for Adam Button Wednesday from Forex Live. Adios.